Now, but what's interesting though is that what you're saying, is that the only way to fight the coming of the reactionary right is with social democracy, or a more left materialist agenda.
Hmm.
Where I think you and I might kind of bump heads is that I am not convinced by any stretch of the imagination that the current Democratic Party and the liberals in America or globally are really serious about pivoting out of neoliberalism.
Well, I tell you what, Pascal, I'm not convinced either. But what I'll say is, what else you got? Right? I mean, that's
Well, there is an intermediary,
and what might that be?
Keynesianism.
Well, yeah, but well, yes, and that's what the BlackRock tendency, right, in the Biden administration has been advocating, and that's where our allies are. And see, once you start out from the assumption or the premise, right, that the left is no more than a spectator in setting the agenda, right, then what that suggests is that where the standard bearer is for the vessel that in the short term is going to carry our hopes and dreams is in these Wall Street Keynesians who are in the Biden administration. And I know, let's see, um, but people might want there to be something else, right? But there isn't anything else, and 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 they might think that there's some, like Trotskyists like to think if we just call for the masses to rise, the masses will rise. But the only, well, two points. One, the Progressive Caucus in the House has had its finest hour, right? They've been extremely effective. They've been very well coordinated, and they've done what they can do, right, to push, to push a progressive agenda as far as it can go. But I think they also show, through no fault of their own, really, but also show the limits of an electoral approach to political change, right? Because now's the moment, right, when Manchin and Sinema, who are basically voices for outside interests, right? When they act, or when they act as the voices of these mobilized outside interests, the only effective response from the Progressive Caucus would be to mobilize their popular constituencies out there to act collectively. Like, I'm thinking about 1 million people on the 14th Street Bridge, but they don't have that kind of base, right? Because they've built what they have as a movement inside Congress through electoral mobilization, and they're good and smart and talented and have gone as far as they can go. But this is the moment when they would need to be able to bring external pressure to bear. And because of the nature of the movement that they've been part of, they don't have the capacity to bring that external pressure to bear. So what can we do? I mean, at this point, the only thing that can be hoped for is that the Wall Street Keynesian element in the Biden administration will be able, in some way, like, to circumvent Manchin and Sinema. That doesn't seem especially likely at this point.
Well, this is the thing, though. Let's define some of these terms, because people are asking questions like this super chat. What is neoliberalism according to Adolph Reed, other than the famous quote of his defeat of the working class?
Right. Yeah, that's it. That's all it is.
Well, I'd like, and you can kind of kick me in the teeth here if you disagree with my definition, Adolph. But I define neoliberalism as a privatization or marketization, taking government functions and rendering it to the private sector while you still pay taxes, and gutting the functioning of the government and turning everything over to capital in terms of control.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. That's all part of it. I mean, that's yeah. I mean, those are instrumentalities of the turn, but the real, but at the end of the day, and frankly, like I, kind of laid that out there after, getting overdosing on academics' taxonomic exercises in trying to parse what counts as neoliberalism and what doesn't. Right, just like it struck me as a version of the same thing as people who were trying to navigate their way around being in support of Caitlyn Jenner and being opposed to Rachel Dolezal by finding ways arbitrarily to assign what's authentically black and what isn't, right? Because in both cases, like you get around to the, well, who says, right? And what makes this particular practice, right, fundamentally definitive of what neoliberalism is, right? Because sometimes it's about privatization, sometimes it's not, right? I mean, sometimes it's about, or in some domains, it's about weakening the central authority or the authority of the central state. In some domains, it's about strengthening the authority of the central state, right? So what, and like I won't, defend that characterization as the end-all be-all characterization of what neoliberalism is, because frankly, it's as much a quip as it is anything else. But I was also like reacting to the sense, and again, this is among academics principally, that neoliberalism is somehow something different from capitalism, and it's not. So my argument is fundamentally that neoliberalism is just capitalism that's eliminated any effective working class opposition.
Would you also say that there's kind of a bit of a consensus, maybe in the online world more than anywhere else, but there definitely is a bit of a consensus that the neoliberal project is strictly a Democratic Party project, which I don't agree with.
Oh, I don't agree with that at all.
Partisan.
Well, but to quote Dave Chappelle, the online world doesn't exist.
Shout out to This is Revolution podcast and all YouTube fans.